Take heed of the dream.
The external security strategy, agreed in 2003 and refreshed in 2008, had counter-terrorism as one of its priorities. To address. Since that refresh and the original drafting, the EU's landscape in how it will deliver its external activities has changed significantly with the introduction of the Lisbon Treaty and, most importantly, the External Action Service. It's funded a €15 million project in Pakistan, a €15 million project in Yemen, a €5 million project in Sahel. I think these are relatively early phases.
What are the programs?
In Pakistan, it's looking at the rule of law, training of the judiciary. In Yemen, it includes aspects on the aviation security side. And working with non-governmental organisations on cooperation. I can't remember which one, but there were also de-radicalisation elements within in Pakistan. We would welcome additional spend on counter-terrorism overseas.
You've got about 3 different or 4 different structures. Somehow or other they've got to be coordinated. You can't do it under one great umbrella because the will to create one great umbrella clearly doesn't exist.
The European Union as a whole is supporting the work at the United Nations on an arms trade treaty, but that is, of course, deals with the legitimate arms trade.
Turkey is clearly an important country because of its the possibility of its future membership of the European Union, and I know that the European Commission has funded quite a lot of activity in terms of training, technical assistance to Turkey, and the United Kingdom has been active in Turkey in providing technical assistance and personnel to help in that process. The EU has also committed to improving operational law enforcement cooperation overseas in, for example, Latin America, the Caribbean and West Africa.
The nub of this question is of course, the word cooperation. And certainly when I was closely involved with this, and I would ask you to comment on whether things have changed since I left that scene, you could not really cooperate at a national official level, unless you trusted and respected the political system, the judicial system, and the organisations that operated within that. And if that trust and respect is not there, you either don't cooperate or you don't link with them at all, or alternatively and dangerously, you link on an individual, person-to-person basis, on the basis that I trust this particular individual but not the rest of them.
Will to create one great umbrella clearly doesn't exist.
On an individual, person-to-person basis, on the basis that I trust this particular individual but not the rest of them. And that is fraught with dangers and difficulties, but it does go on, as we discovered when a couple of years ago we were looking at Europol. And that was really only on the European scene. You know, I am interested in your view. A, am I correct that still is the case? And B, assuming it is the case, your view on countries like Somalia and some of the west coast of African countries in particular, as to how one can ever begin to move towards a state of cooperation other than encouraging them to change?
I think one of the important things is to try and change the system in countries which are of strategic importance to the European Union. In Albania, there is a European Commission project to reform the Albanian state police. The United Kingdom bid to lead that project. We were successful in doing so. We're working with the Austrians, and the purpose is to reform the police. And there are other programmes funded by the European Commission to do the same thing.
I'm not sure, did I correctly understand you to say you thought that would never change, or that it would change only slowly? Because
I think you will always find that people, not only in the field of law enforcement and the areas that we specialise in, will, to some extent, rely on personal relationships.
It's rather hard for people like ourselves coming from the outside not to believe that there are rather too many of these groups and that there is bound to be duplication, overlap, perhaps sort of bureaucratic inertia in it all. What would your response to that be?
I would agree with you.
I'd like to thank you very warmly on behalf of the committee for the evidence that you and your two colleagues have given us this morning. It's been extremely valuable. You have enlightened us considerably.